Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another segment of Funda Chat. This is part of our Cerebral Palsy Rehabilitation series, and today we're speaking to Karen Du Buisson, who's a registered social worker, and in terms of the rehabilitation, she's the case manager dealing with the CP cases that we are doing the rehabilitation on. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
So Karen, in the general scope of things, just to explain to everybody, we basically have three parts. We've got the rehabilitation team, we've got the trust company, and then we've got the parents. And of those, you basically the coordinator. Is that correct?
That is correct. So basically, I'm appointed by the contracted. I contract to Funda Medical from the lawyer's side, that they then during the litigation program would then or process would then get me involved to see how we can improve this child's life during litigation. And then thereafter, the case management continues when it goes to a trust level, but that is something completely different, but so this would be the stepping stone to that.
Okay. And then in terms of this rehabilitation process, what are the first steps that you get involved in? So the attorney comes to us and says, hey, listen, Funda, Karen, we've got this CP patient. What would your first steps be to start evaluating the case?
So the very first step would be to get the permission to go and do a home visit. That is the most important part of it, is to see and assess that child and their family within their living circumstances. Okay, that is foremost.
So basically you're looking for, is the home appropriate? So that if they're in a wheelchair, can the wheelchair move in and out of the home?
Correct.
Are the doors big enough, etc.?
Correct.
And then also, are they able to feed the child correctly? So do they have a blender? Is the bed suitable and things like that?
That's 100% correct. Many of our families live in informal settlements, so the terrain is quite difficult to navigate. Most of our families do not have wheelchairs, so they need to carry this child, who sometimes could be in their teenage years, would need to carry that child on the back or in their arms to get to transport or whatever. So it really is, Frank, about going and assessing what the challenges are within the family, what the challenges are that parents are experiencing with the child. Might be, as you said, that there's feeding issues, because feeding of a CP child could be anything from 45 minutes to sometimes even longer.
Okay.
And imagine that if you are in a family where there are other children that's also reliant on a mom that needs to have a meal. And mom ultimately also needs to eat. So imagine how cold her food is by the time she's done feeding this CP child.
Yeah,
so it really is, it's assessment within the life space of the child.
Okay. No, that makes 100% sense. So while we're doing the rehabilitation, we're obviously working with multiple disciplines. So we've got the physiotherapist, the occupational therapy, we've got the speech and hearing therapist, sometimes a dietitian.
Correct.
And then obviously we've got the advanced specialists when it comes to operations and hospital care. But in terms of this team, are you coordinating it, basically, the team effort, and then also assisting the parents to understand their responsibility after treatment?
That's correct, yes. So I facilitate the process in getting the team ready to start, and through you then to do therapy at your offices. And then obviously from there on, communicating with the parent in following through on the instructions given by the therapists, because they've only got an hour to an hour and a half with the child once a week. So, which isn't sufficient if parents would need to follow through on a home program given by therapists, and also doing the exercises itself. And then providing us with feedback on whether it's working or whether it isn't working.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So ultimately, the parent is the one that's responsible for the ultimate care of the child. You guys assist and then give them tools. So you kickstart the process, and then the team basically make sure that there's some sort of professional progress, but then the parent ultimately is responsible to ensure the day-to-day carries on.
Correct.
And then how important is it that the parent not only sticks to the treatment, but then also is involved in the planning to understand when and when to give medication, when and when to do follow-ups, and then also on the other spectrum of things, in terms of care, how to create comfort and how to create safety, like, for example, transport.
It's very important for the parent to be part of that decision making, I think. But if I can maybe interrupt myself in first saying that one needs to determine a treatment plan or a plan of action, if per se. So let's, for instance, say, Frank, whilst during the litigation process, we're very limited with regards to services that we can render and that we will be rendering. So with that, it is easier to get the parents' buy-in, and also to get the parents to commit to providing an ongoing service of whatever treatment that they've received to their child. Once this matter is finalized, that's where it becomes a little bit more tricky, because a parent then, unfortunately, they see the bulk of the money, and they don't always realize what this is intended for. So it is very important to get them to sit down and plan with them that there needs to be a process that one follows. Rome wasn't built in a day. We can't do everything in one day. But that we first start with me, it's really important for me that their living circumstances improve and that their accommodation improves. So the buying of the house is pivotal to that. And only then later would it be that one does look at transport, own transport, trust transport. Yeah. But when it comes to settlement of the matter, the trust companies provide transport to the parents and the children, as it is done during the litigation process.
So the most important thing for the parents to understand is that if they're working with the case managers and the whole team of people, that they need to understand that the advice they're giving is to steward, or for, in another way of saying it, to utilize what's being given to them to the best of its extent. So if they're getting 100 Rand, how to stretch that 100 Rand as far as possible, because it's been planned meticulously by the team.
Yes. That, yes, your opinion is also valuable, and because they remain the parents of this child. And
100%.
this is not, case management is not about taking away the parents' rights or their responsibilities towards the child. This is not for the case manager to be the responsible person for the child, but rather to be part of a team of which the parent is very much part of as well. So if the parent, they're there 24/7, they're the ones that are able to see, but this is a need. Maybe Karen hasn't seen that need because I'm not physically living it. I'm not there in their life space 24/7. So they are welcome to voice, but that they in that sense form part of that decision making, that yes, we can do this, maybe not now, let's wait a bit and let's prioritize what we're going to do.
As we close off, what do you see in terms of when treatment's supposed to start? When would you prefer the parents already to, and even the attorneys, to start treatment with the child?
Frank, this is unfortunately not something that's in the hands of the parents, because I think if it could start with diagnosis already, and unfortunately when it comes to our CP children who were born in provincial hospitals, they're not necessarily diagnosed at birth because medical staff don't always tell parents what is happening. So parents start noticing developmental delays, and they do reach out to the clinics and say, but you know, my baby is struggling to hold his head, or he doesn't follow me in the room, or he's not able to sit. They're not getting proper advice, and they're obviously not getting a diagnosis. Some of them are diagnosed, some of them get that information that your child is cerebral palsy due to medical neglect, as a lack of oxygen to the brain during the birthing process, whatever the case might be. And they then refer to a CP clinic. Unfortunately, the CP clinics there's such a huge number of patients that it's group settings. So there's no one-on-one. It would have been ideal to start right there, to start the process. So this is to speak to lawyers, to engage in the case management and therapeutic rehabilitative program from the onset of when these matters are reported to them.
Because the importance of
as soon as liability is conceded.
Yeah. The importance of that is basically it's to ensure that their case reaches the end.
Absolutely.
Because the earlier they start with rehabilitation, then the quicker it is to pick up the things that are life and death situations for these claimants. But not only that, maybe even to give them that little bit of improvement to ensure that they reach the end of the case.
It's also about improving life quality, and not just quality of life for the child, but also quality of life for the parent. Because with the child comes a parent, and this parent's life is on hold ever since this child's birth. That mom has become the primary caregiver of this child 24/7, 365. So it really is about improving things in such a way that this child could possibly go to a stimulation center during the day. It gives mom time for respite, and it takes away from caregiver fatigue, that we don't struggle with that. But also for mom to feel that she's part of society and she can earn an income and provide for her other kids and be a mom.
Yes.
To other children as well.
No, that definitely makes sense. Thank you so much, Karen.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And as you hear it today, folks, this has been quite an informative session. We've got a few more coming up. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything. And thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.